of surrealism. South Street closed on a Saturday. Hey everyone, here we are on South Street in the middle of the coronavirus, and quite weirdly, it's about 45 degrees on the 9th of May, so it's a real windy day. Hopefully you can hear me over the wind. And why are we here on otherwise closed South Street? Well, we're gonna pop in on like a huge day for a former student of mine and a relatively new social entrepreneur named Evan Ellers, who has a company that's called Sharing Excess. And we're gonna find out like what's going on here. Why is Channel 10 here? What's going on today? So let's take a walk down and see if we can find out. So I'm standing in front of 514 South Street. I need to find out who these two young women are, and hopefully they'll tell us, and what's going on, and why people are giving away free ice cream on a cold day in May. So what's going on here? Tell us who you guys are. We know you were Sharing Excess, but we don't know. Set us straight on what's going on today.
So my name's Lauren Huff, I'm a chef, and I've been contributing to Sunday Love for quite a while. Sunday Love and Sharing Excess have been working together for quite a while as well. So they partnered up to create Sharing Love, which is the space we're at now. This was really our brainchild to give back to the community. We wanted to make sure that Philadelphians were taken care of during the pandemic, and they felt comfortable approaching services they might not normally have utilized. So Sharing Excess is providing grocery meal boxes. Sunday Love is providing hot meals. That way, no matter what situation people are coming from, we can make sure that we give them food. And then we have Pee-wee's here today. Ice cream cones.
I'm Miranda Burns. I'm co-owner of Pee-wee's Ice Cream. This is our second year in business, and we really just wanted to help give back to our community. We love Philadelphia, and we volunteer with the Sunday Love Project, so we thought this would be a great way to help give hot meals and a nice snack to like cheer you up.
Very cool. And we're going to get all the detailed scoop on Sharing Excess from Evan in a few. Give us a little more background, because so we're doing this for students that are taking entrepreneurship classes, and so they don't know what Sunday Love is. This is all brand new. So what's Sunday Love? What's this space all about? It's pretty cool. Next to Manny Brown's. I don't know if they're still open, but when I was a kid, or when I was your age, that's where I used to hang out. But
So Sunday Love has been operating for 5 years. Martha Murphy is the director. Mainly focuses on folks experiencing homelessness. Right now we're serving 7 days a week in Kensington. We have 3 meal services in Rittenhouse. We were serving, I would say, between 5 to 800 meals per week before the pandemic. Now we're well over 3,000. My personal goal is over 4,000 at least.
Wow.
Just to help meet the need. Once we meet the need, that would be great. If we end up having too much food, we haven't reached that point yet. So we've just been furiously pushing every day just to help give back to the community. This space, Counterculture, opened as an event space and then had to shut down right away. We're their first clients essentially.
Oh, cool.
And Amanda, the event director, reached out to us and said she wanted to use the space for the community, and the owners of the space were down with it too. So we're hugely appreciative. And right now, Sunday Love also, we get about, I would say, 80% of our food from Sharing Excess. So I cook it in the kitchen, Margot sends it out.
Wow.
So we were doing this kind of work before, and then when this space landed in our lap, it just all organically came together.
So is this a permanent space? Will this become a permanent
This
space
is
for you now?
temporary.
Okay.
but pretty much when the pandemic is over and they can reopen, that's when we'll have to find another space. But until they're forced to be shut down, we can operate in this space.
No problem.
Okay.
Very nice weather.
I mean, it's just like I said.
Okay, so it's an opportunistic entrepreneurial pop-up
Yeah.
opportunity. Nice.
Pandemic pop-up. if you
Yeah.
will.
So that's good to see some activity down here. So well thanks for the background. So cool.
Thank you so
No problem. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Information systems, you know that company, it's a biology and science for first responders and stuff like that versus like really love space, but we're trying to keep it as minimal as possible. Basically, the staging for packages there, the fresh meals, and grocery boxes, what's something we can have, and here. We're still setting up for the first day, but eventually we're gonna have like signs and label and everything where we're yeah. And we also like it's we feature a lot of restaurants. So restaurants that right now or we are very minimal, they can come in and offer some support. Provide their ice cream or some spice like happening, something that's there. But yeah.
So here I am, and we're going to start in the present, and then we're going to go back a little bit, because I'm standing with Evan Ellers, who is actually a former student of mine, and he's the founder of Sharing Excess. And today's a real special day for them. So we're going to start out by saying, like, what's going on here, and why is today the first day of something? And after we get that, we're going to go back and we're going to hear about Evan's story directly from him. Because just a couple years ago, he was in the exact place that all of you guys tuning into this were or are right now. So Evan, first, congratulations, because this is awesome from what I can gather, but tell everybody, like, what's going on here?
Yeah, so we have a collaboration between our nonprofit, which is Sharing Excess, and a meal distribution nonprofit called Sunday Love Project. So they do meal services where they're giving away a lot of food to people on different days of the week. And they do it with an extra step, an extra level of care and love. So we decided to partner with them to make a bigger initiative where we have the food and they have the capability and the experience to serve those meals professionally. So it's kind of like the marrying of the two sides of the equation that are needed to do the kind of work that we do. We're able to supply the food, and then Sunday Love Project is able to distribute it and put that extra level of care and love, just so that people can come in and get a really good meal and not have to feel any other way, but they got a great meal.
Right. Very, very cool. And so you've laid claim to this space for how long?
So we're hoping to have this space for at least a month. The current shutdown is extended to June 4th. So we know that we'll at least be here through the month of May. But yeah, it's really tough to tell. I mean, everyone's just kind of going day by day right now. So we're going to see what happens, but we're making this collaboration mobile. No matter where it is, we do get offers for people to give us their space when they're not using it, and then we can set up a meal site. So you can even see people outside are already showing up and grabbing meals. It's really nothing that's too tricky or too complicated. It's just giving out free food that we saved and rescued from going to waste, but it's all perfectly edible. None of it's expired, and a lot of it is actually just fresh and catered from restaurants as donations to help people right now when, frankly, we could all use it.
Wow. And this partnership that you just referenced, is that a strategic partnership? Is that something that's going to continue on?
Yeah, we would love to see it continue on. I mean, just personally, I really connect with Margot, who is the one who started Sunday Love Project. We both really see eye to eye, especially being in the same city, in the same space. finding someone that you work with and you jive with, it really is a very rare occurrence. And sometimes in other categories or other businesses, you might consider them like a competitor or something like that. But luckily, in the space that we're in, that's your best friend. That's the one you want to collaborate with and make make something bigger. And that's exactly what we did. We had two complementary resources, and we put them together to do something even greater.
Nice. Anything we should know right now before we go down and I can start like taking away the mystery for those that don't know who you are? We'll sit down and get your story, but we're taking advantage of the fact that we got this going on, this very day. I saw TV station out here and everything like that. But anything you want to tell about what's significant about today?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is our opening day, and we're using a space that was really generously donated by Counterculture, and we wouldn't be able to do this without them. Companies that are really open and willing to see good things happen for the community and actually put their money where their mouth is and let an organization like us come in here and do our job. I mean, it speaks worlds, and this is the first, collaboration that we've actually had work out. So, just huge shout out to Counterculture for allowing us to do this.
And Counterculture, like, how would you describe what they are as a?
So they're venue management. Like this space would typically be open for parties and events. But the property management, I believe they also have the Manning Coffee, kind of similar to OCF Realty. So yeah, the space just not being utilized instead of letting it sit. It's now having a life, and this is actually, I'm pretty sure, the very first event in this space too. This place is brand new, so we're christening it and goodwill for this community here. This is open to everyone. We have absolutely no stipulation of who can and cannot get a meal. You can literally walk up and in a Rolls Royce and get a meal, or you can come with nothing and get a meal. We want to make it open to everyone, and I think that's really important in our work, is to destigmatize this idea that being hungry is associated with being poor, and that you should be seen as being on a lower level because you need something to eat. We're wasting so much food, it's really a no-brainer that we should just have more opportunities like this for the community to get a free meal every once in a while, but especially those who need it more than others. We're really there for them.
Nice. And do you know, like, you guys, this is like prime real estate. This is like the 500 block of South Street.
Yeah.
I mean, I have memories that go way back to when I was your age and younger, and like, what do you know about the story of this space before you're getting in here?
Yeah, I mean, just the story of this, street in general. South Street is, one of the busiest places in Philadelphia. I mean, this is prime real estate here. We get between 700 to 800 people who walk through here on a nice day. So, I mean, it's really amazing that we get to utilize this space. But if we were to try to buy a building like this, I mean, it would cost us upwards of $750,000 to $1 million. So I mean, it's a huge upgrade for us. Margot is used to serving outside of the basement of a church. We don't even have a physical space. Our entire business is purely in transportation. So this is like our first real kind of stake in the ground, and something that we're really happy to put our names on.
Awesome. So is it a good time to go just get
Yeah, absolutely. I can show you downstairs.
Yeah.
Where we're gonna put some more storage and all that kind of stuff.
Cool.
Yeah, this is where we're staging everything, and we'll be storing like all of our non-perishables and things like that. Right now we have extra boxes and garbage in the corner. A lot of this is just from setup and opening day. Yeah, I mean, this is my first time ever opening a building, opening a venue. I mean, it's incredibly difficult, just every step that's needed to get all the supplies you need, all the permits, all the insurance, all the people, all the press. We put out press releases. We had NBC here, Fox News here. Just a lot moving pieces, and along with that, you have your unpredictable things, right? Like the weather. It's a bit colder than we expected today. We have wind chill. So obviously it's not great for lines, right? But you just kind of got to roll with the punches. Luckily, we've had events before, so it's very similar to running an event. I'd say if anyone is looking to start their own brick and mortar place, starting with events first is kind of like good training wheels. Yeah, down here is just kind of just empty space for us. We're going to start filling this up with racks so that we can start piling in like all these non-perishables. This is just backup in case we didn't have enough food. Upstairs, we got all the non-perishables that we need. Annie's is like kind of like your typical shelf-stable, perfect mac and cheese, and then we've got all the vegetables that are canned, stuff that can really stay for a long time. But obviously, we prefer to give people hot, fresh meals. But this is emergency supplies and provisions.
How long did you know you were going to do this? Like because it's a huge deal to like set foot in a new building and deal with everything.
Yeah.
So how long have you had to plan this pop-up event?
Literally maybe like 3 weeks,
Wow.
4 weeks ago. Yeah, we moved pretty fast as a company. Like we say yes to a lot of opportunities. We've had a long-standing relationship with Margot, who's the leader of Sunday Love Project. So when this is something we've been talking about, for months, right? Even before this, Sharing Access is only, not even 2 years old yet, right? But in a span of months is kind of a long time in our timeline. Margot and I were over breakfast talking about, God, how great would it be if we were able to come together? I mean, you do something that I can't do, and I do something you can't do. I mean, and we work so well together. We really admire each other. I mean, this would be so great if we could come together. And we were just like, yeah, maybe we could start writing grants, and one day, 5 years from now, we can open up a building. And we literally just had that breakfast, like a month ago, like before this all hit. It was maybe 1 or 2 months ago. And then pandemic hit. We were really just driving food throughout the city. We were moving almost like 10,000 pounds a day at a certain point. And then all of a sudden, Margot sends me an email out of nowhere and is like, hey, we've got this space. Someone offered to donate space to us. Do you want to finally do that collaboration you were talking about? We were like, yeah, sure. Like, why not? So it just kind of worked out perfectly for us.
Cool. Yeah, so let's you say where. Let's go. I want to fill in the details for our students, so they know, so they can go from the past, the 2 years ago, to now. So
for sure.
Okay, so now we're in the basement where it's quiet, below Evan's new operation, and let's try to take us from the present that we just saw, which right now I assume isn't super clear to people tuning in, and let's fill in some of the details. And so I'd like to kind of take us back and and ask Evan, like, tell us the relevant part of your story, like who are you, your Drexel story, all of that stuff. But like for our students, like give them the story that got us up to where we just were upstairs.
Yeah. So I started Sharing Access as a third year at Drexel. I had all these meal swipes in my dining account that I decided to swipe out, and I just kind of made a spur of the moment decision to give them all out, drive them around Center City. Because I didn't want them to go to waste, and I'm sure a lot of students can relate to just having a lot of leftover meal swipes. So I created this initiative to kind of formalize that process with the university after I had that day, because it changed my life, changed my outlook in terms of what I was interested in and something that I felt was meaningful. So I pursued a formal meal swipe donation program at Drexel in the beginning, and we called it Project Self, and Self stood for Sharing Excess with the Less Fortunate. So that's where our name came from. It's just Sharing Excess. We decided to cut out all the extra mumbo jumbo and just went with what we're doing, plain and simple on the head. We started out originally working with the university and the food service provider to get the meal swipe donation program running, and then we realized there was actually an opportunity when a grocery store, Trader Joe's, gave us a call out of nowhere. They saw our website and asked us if we can come and pick up their leftover food, because they had all these banana boxes of fruits and vegetables that they were about to throw out, but it's completely edible. You know, they're just a little smaller, maybe one has a scar in it, and they set it aside. And they're doing this actually in grocery stores and restaurants all across the United States. You know, of course, we didn't realize that at the time. We just, you know, got this call and realized that there was something more that we can do than just waiting for the university to get back to us on this meal swipe donation program. So we started picking up from this Trader Joe's on a regular basis and then delivering it to Sunday Breakfast Rescue Mission on 13th and Vine. It was just the closest hunger relief organization we could find on Google. So, you know, it was really ragtag, no rhyme or reason to it, just kind of chasing like a good feeling. And realized that we could use some structure, and that what we were doing is something that a lot of people were interested in, especially students. You know, they wanted to help out. Grocery stores wanted to give away their food, and hunger relief organizations were looking to receive that food. So we had all the parties necessary to create a process, like a movement, an operation. So we really started to formalize everything and realize that, you know, our role is something that could always be needed. You know, whether times are good or times are bad, you know, people are always going to need to eat. So I felt, you know, if I can help people eat, and if I can help reduce food waste, which was something that just kind of ticked me off, you know, this could be a really cool career. And so I just went all in, and I was still a student at the time, and balancing this with classes and, you know, other projects I was working on, also the potential for other jobs. You know, I had an offer to work for TJ Maxx, and you know, nothing really like grabbed at me, but I decided to go all in on this because it started to work out in terms of just the process. You know, no money coming in whatsoever, and in fact, like any promise or view of having any sort of sustainable funding, like was not really feasible. And I think, you know, you and I actually even talked about it when it was first coming out. You know, how to make it sustainable, and, you know, potentially in the future, like, could make a salary off of it, which seems so like far out and crazy. But you know, here we are now, a year and a half later, where all that stuff's starting to come into play. You know, we started out slow, but now we've delivered over 300,000 pounds of food. And we're moving to 500,000 by the end of the year. Hopefully we're going to exceed that. But by 2021, for sure, we'll hopefully be at least 1 million pounds of food delivered.
Wow, that's an awesome story. And I wanted to get you to, were you the first graduate of our department?
I was the first matriculated student of the close school.
Okay, the first matriculated student of the close school, and we're doing this video for some people from close, but then also a lot of people who are just Drexel students and they're not entrepreneurship majors. But in our classes, we talk about ideation, brainstorming. Can you go back to that time, like you're thinking like the meal swipe idea, like when I was a kid and I went to college, we had paper coupons, but it's the same thing. If you were on the 21 meal plan, you know, who ate 21 meals and stuff, so there's always that leftover thing. How did the idea just pop into your head, or is this a product of you being an ideator? You were in the School of Entrepreneurship. Just like take us back to there, to how you got into that mode where you came up with the initial idea that got you going.
Yeah, I would say there was definitely the fertile ground of me knowing that I wanted to pursue entrepreneurship as a career. That, you know, whatever I was doing, you know, I wanted to be working for myself and not feel like I'm answering to someone above me, especially when, you know, I'm a very passionate person. You know, I knew that I wanted to be leading myself, whatever it was. So entrepreneurship always felt right to me, and I had that background and that mindset, and all the classes that I got, you know, coming into Drexel helped to set that foundation. But I didn't know what I wanted to do yet, and, you know, I think that is, you know, there are people who tell you two different things, like, you know, don't start something unless, you know, it's going to be a hit, or, you know, start something and then see where it goes, and it can turn into something. You know, I didn't know really any of those things. I really just knew that whatever I wanted to do as a career, I wanted it to make me happy. and I literally stumbled upon something that made me happy, and something that I put into retrospect, that if I were to really see this thing through and know that if I put in all my energy and time, that if I went and looked backwards at my life, and that this is the career that I chose, instead of, you know, sitting in some office like selling paper or, you know, pencils, or, you know, I could be an entrepreneur or whatever business, right? I already knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but, you know, if it wasn't meaningful to me, then looking back at my life, that's probably not something I'd be happy with. So I put this through kind of like the lifetime test, and I said, all right, this is something that makes me happy. Now, think about yourself down this path 30 years from now. Are you going to look back and say, hey, you know, this is something I'm glad and felt fulfilled that I went after? And it checked the box for me, because it was something that I got joy from, but also something that other people wanted to join me with, like join in and do, right? And I think that's one of the most fundamental things about entrepreneurship, is that you have to build a company that has value to others, even before it has, you know, it has to exceed the value that it has to yourself. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs get stuck in this, like, you know, like a purgatory zone where they come up with a really good idea that they like, and that's the problem. It's not about what you like, it's about what people like. You know, where entrepreneurs are for the people. You're making something that has value to others. So if what you're making is purely just for you, then, you know, that could be classified as an art or a hobby, right? But when you're talking about making a movement, inspiring something bigger than just one seed, you know, it's really got to have that value aspect of other people being interested in it. So when I started doing this, I immediately saw people who wanted to join in and help. And that was like, first time I ever experienced that. It's like, oh, okay, I'm not alone here. I'm not alone in, like, you know, these bracelets that I had. I was like, you know, that was my first company. I had these bracelets. I came up with a company for it. I made them look nice. Some people liked them, but a lot of people just, like, didn't get it. And I realized I loved it way more.
Can I get my camera guy, aka my son Jackson? I'm really proud as an owner of a bracelet, and Evan, if you remember, you know, this is probably soon after we met. I had told, like, you had shared some of your interests. You knew I had a nonprofit. I told you about my logo, and then you actually made this for me, trying to, like, do the layers of my logo, and I've kept it ever since. But it sounds like, is that an example of being a serial entrepreneur that you were doing then? But any comments on that artistic side of you that had you making these? You know, I still, to this day, I still wear it. I still think it's a funky thing.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to knock it, like, you know, and like that's something I'm so passionate about. Like I was so passionate about it at the time, but I really, like, was searching for something greater than just my own personal, like, artistic satisfaction, because maybe it's just a personal thing, but, like, I find, like, my satisfaction just, like, increases tenfold when other people are the main beneficiary. And I don't know why that is, but it's something that I've, like, kind of, like, made my internal clock now, that, you know, I can't, like, feel content unless, like, everyone else around me, it feels like they're taken care of. And I think that's just kind of like a genre of people. Like, there are, like, some people who just, like, thrive on that kind of stuff. And so, you know, this was something I thought was so great, but it wasn't, like, getting out there like I thought it should be. And I think a lot of, like, artistic ventures end up like that. And I don't have, like, the exact reason why, but I found that, you know, working backwards from the value that other people get from your venture is really where a lot of, like, the fast progress and growth comes from in terms of entrepreneurship. You know, we've created something here with Sharing Excess that, you know, can fit into a lot of different molds that a lot of people can contribute to.
Okay, nice. I'd like you to share for us. Take us into, like, a typical day at Sharing Excess, like, but explain the operation for somebody who's new to what you're doing, how can the students understand, like, what are the nuts and bolts of sharing access? What do you guys do on a regular basis? You just blew my mind that you now have 30 people. You know, what are these 30 people doing? So
Yeah.
take us through the operation, if you don't mind, briefly.
Yeah, so sharing access is all based around this like central concept that there's always going to be surplus. There will always be excess food, resources, whatever it is. There's always going to be this because of the way of industry. The way things are when you're producing something, there's always going to be that chance that there's more than you need. What we have found and what I stumbled upon is that a lot of time when there is excess, it simply goes to waste. Even though there's this disconnect of people out there somewhere who could really use it, but since they're not there, they can't get it. So that was a really interesting problem to me, and I found firsthand that like someone's passion could be the solution to that. Like someone just stepping in and saying, okay, I'm going to take this, and instead of letting it go to waste, I'm going to find someone who needs it and give it to them. It's kind of like this like golden, bridge between excess and scarcity that just takes like a little bit of direction, a little bit of systematic process, some regulation, right, some quantification. That bridge is what sharing excess is. It's all around the central concept of getting excess to people who need it. So that can be applied to many, many different things. Whether that's furniture that's not being used or food, right? But really where we're starting and where it's most necessary and where it's most crucial is really just in the sustenance of life and nutrition, which is food. And it's actually one of the most readily available and most wasted resources that there is. And it contributes to a lot of negative things environmentally as well. Hunger is something that in our current day and age, no one should be facing because there's literally twice as much food going to waste each year than there are hungry mouths to feed. There's literally more food going to waste than there are meals needed per day for each of the 40 million Americans that can't afford 3 meals per day. That's what our entire company centralizes around, is this concept that there is excess and that we ought to be sharing it as a prosperous society. Now, what we do is find that excess. Right now, like our primary resource is grocery stores and restaurants. And college students are kind of in this like perfect place where they have a lot of time, they tend to have a lot of passion and energy and want to get involved with stuff like this. All they need is a mission to get behind and a set of rules and a process and something that can help them do this. So we provide students with the resources to be able to play that role for their community. We start within the campus, within a chapter. We make these like social organizations. And then students can join that chapter and just directly get involved with our partnerships with grocery stores and restaurants to help pick up that food and then deliver it to hunger relief organizations that we've also created a network with. So in a general concept, that's what we're doing. We are now sharing excess in a lot of different ways, right? We're getting leftover food from grocery stores and restaurants. We're getting donations from brick and mortar retailers, wholesalers that are just sending us stuff. Like, what the camera is sitting on right now is a whole bunch of coffee donations from Lavazza Coffee. This wasn't excess. This was just something that they wanted to provide to help people. So now we're getting into that game too, where we provide food scholarships for students. So because of all this, we have a larger reach now. We need more people to develop and manage this kind of stuff. So we've built our team out. With the pandemic, a lot of students don't have a lot of things to do. We've taken on a lot more students to help us with our team. We have 5 departments. So we have our distribution department. So within our distribution, we have 4 people. One of them is our recipient coordinator. One is our volunteer/driver coordinator. The other one is our donor coordinator. And then we have a data analyst. So all 4 of them work together for our distribution. Then we have our campus team. They're focused on all things that are with our campus chapters and keeping them functioning and running, and all of our external programs. So we have like our food scholarships. They're helping to run that as well. They manage all of the presidents of each one of the chapters and make sure that those satellite universities are working towards the phases to become what we've done at Drexel. So we're trying to build these seeds of exactly what we've done here at Drexel to other universities. And so we have a coordination team that helps build those chapters. We have a finance team that works on everything from our grant writing. We have 2 grant writers, and then we have 2 of our fundraising developers. So everything from our budgeting to our compliance to payroll, all that kind of stuff. Then we have our technology team. We're building 2 apps, so we have 6 developers. One of them's creating a food rescue app. Half of the team's creating a food rescue app. The other one's creating a discount app for food. And then we have our marketing team. So marketing, everything from press releases to social media to creating strategic partnerships and collaborations. So yeah, a lot of people. We meet together twice. I meet with each department twice per week, but then we all meet as a big team every Monday and Friday. And I make myself available between 10 and 11 a.m. of every single day for any of our team members.
Nice.
So yeah, that's been one of the biggest developments, is me just becoming more of like a manager and being there for my team, to be someone who, even though we have so many people, I'm constantly texting everyone. I know when someone, if I haven't talked to someone for 12 hours or a day, I check in with them and I see what they're up to. I see if they need help, and I always leave time in my day to help them. That's been one of the biggest things. I found the most effective thing is if you have people and you give them the time, the attention, the training they need to just do their job, it will pay you dividends down the line. To have someone who's trained and knows what to do independently after a month of care, it's like a plant that's growing now, and you don't have to worry about it. And it just nets so much more for us.
Nice. First, I wanted to just say congratulations, because in less than 2 years to get to the point where you are is just phenomenal. So I just think the fact that you dove in, from an idea that morphed a little bit, and now here you are. That's a huge kudos to you for doing that. And you touched on an interesting point earlier, and I'm really thrilled to hear that you're getting towards that point. And that point is like the idea of sustainability, financial sustainability. Let us know briefly. One, I believe you're a 501c3 nonprofit. I want to explain to the students briefly what that is and why you might choose that as a business formation rather than a for-profit. And then get in a little bit about, you hear two grant writers, donations, salary. It sounds like you went from just diving in to now it sounds like you got a financial model going. So
yeah.
Why the 501c and then a couple questions about finances.
Yeah, so anything social impact related, there always comes up the question of, do we go nonprofit or do we stay for-profit? A lot of people don't know what a nonprofit is or why anyone would do a nonprofit when, a lot of entrepreneurs' goals is to be as big as possible, to be Mark Zuckerberg and, all that kind of stuff. For us, it was like a very natural decision, because in order for us to obtain food donations legally, we had to be a 501c3. Going through the process of and by the way, 501c3 is just a fancy name for a nonprofit. 501c3 is your IRS tax designation, how you're seen in terms of being classified as a business.
But one key thing that which impacts why you would choose that also is that when you get that 501c3 designation, when you get a donation, no questions asked, that the donor gets a tax break. So it's it's an easy thing, because that would mean Evan has a letter from the state that certifies you as a 501c. So if somebody donates $100,000 to you, whatever tax bracket they're in, they could show that letter and no questions asked. They're going to get that that tax that equivalent tax break based on So it is a financial decision to make, but for a company that that wants donations, and I'm assuming that if a Trader Joe's or somebody donates a bunch of food to you, that they have a way of making that reduce their tax burden?
Yeah. So in-kind donations, any grocery store or restaurant that's giving their food donations to us, they're able to take 15% off the basis value of every dollar and write that off. So we're able to save businesses money in that classification. We're able to take financial donations, and our donors can write that off on their taxes. So it's really strategic and helpful for us. The only thing is you can't have shares and own the company from a shares perspective, which for me is completely fine as long as I have enough money to keep doing something that makes me happy, as in pay my rent and have a salary and be able to support a family one day. Then I got everything I need. I don't need to have this crazy life. And actually, a lot of studies show that your happiness is not, it does not improve or decrease based on money after you make $70,000 a year. In that range, you can support a family, you can pay for your house and your expenses in most situations. So Harvard actually kind of struck this balance that they said, yeah, after $70,000, we did a whole lot of research and found that being a millionaire doesn't make you any happier than someone who's able to cover all their expenses. So for me, the distinction is fine, and I'm able to make a lot more impact in that way. A lot of people want to collaborate for you and move you forward as something that helps a community, including the city and the government. So the only thing that you're missing out on is the potential to make all this crazy money because you own shares in a company. And to me, that I can do that with another company. This is something that I'm fully passionate about, and I'm able to pay my rent with my own company now, which is something I never ever imagined that I'd be able to actually do with this. And my parents didn't either. But to now be paying for my rent and being able to do this full time and make my office wherever and be have a full time leading other people. I mean, it's the best thing I could have ever asked for. So yeah, now we're accepting donations from public and private donors, individual donors, and it's going pretty well. Yeah, we've raised almost $80,000 just during COVID alone.
Nice. And I want to also give a message to the students. Most of our messages I want to come from Evan, but 2 years ago when Evan came up with this idea, what was cool about it is he was like, my gut is this is right, and he didn't really have a full fleshed out business plan. Like some people say you need a business plan, and look where his passion has taken him now. And I'm going to talk to you about passion in a minute or two, but I just also wanted to, if you're sitting here thinking, well, I want to make more money, step back for a second. Also, here's a little prediction. Evan's going to make more money than he thinks he's going to make because of his drive and his passion. And I really think that's the fuel that gets people like us, to wherever we want to go.
Yeah.
But think about it. Drexel has a president, right? Drexel's a nonprofit. It's public, but you can look up what our president makes. It's a lot of money. You can make a lot of money if you want running a nonprofit. So a nonprofit still, it's a tax decision, it's a business decision, but what I love hearing is that come hell or high water, this is what Evan wants to do. And I think that really is what an entrepreneur is in business. He or she pursues what's part of their passion. But if you're also money driven, you can be money driven and do a nonprofit. Sharing Excess could grow, and I just wanted to give those people that are saying well, I'm going to write that off because I want to make a lot of money. Well, you can have a business model that's totally based on a nonprofit.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more.
So we switched venues and we went back upstairs. We're going to get into some more philosophical questions and way better backdrop up here. This is if you've seen some of my other field trips. This is the kind of stuff I love. So this is very, very cool. And what I wanted to do, Evan, is pick up on some stuff that you really talked about downstairs, which I love hearing. So in my practice and mindset class, I urge the students early on to come up with their passion. And not everybody knows what they're passionate about because a lot of times we go through life and everyone's telling us what to do, where we're going to go to school, what we've got to study. And sometimes people don't even stop to think about, well, what's inside of me? What's my passion? Whereas I tell students that you find your passion and you dig deep and you discover it,
I believe that's one of the most practical things you could do, and trust yourself. If you want to make money, you'll figure out how to make money around that passion. A lot of people say it's the other. Go make your money, get set in life, and then find your passion.
Yeah.
A lot of parents say that to their students, and so I hear you saying at a really young age that you found your passion, and that seems to be what's driving you right now. So I wanted you to comment on that. Like, you know, what does drive you? How do you describe your passion? You already did a little bit, but like talk about that to our students.
Yeah, no, I mean, I kind of stumbled upon it. Like, I didn't know that I was passionate about this until I went out there and did it. So I would say if there's anyone that's looking to find their passion, a lot of it does come from getting out there and really like being in the world. And then also changing up your routine. I think being in the same routine over and over again can get monotonous, and there's not a lot of passion in monotony unless you really already found what you love doing and you do it every day. So, I mean, some simple things could literally be just changing up your path that you walk to class every day. And you might see something or find someone that you wouldn't have found now that you went down this new path. So I think changing routine is a really important thing for you to just get new experiences, which could very well lead to finding your passion. But I mean, you gotta test it, you gotta get out there and just see it. And I think for college students, a lot of time, you spend just kind of sitting in your room, relaxing, because going to classes sucks, and taking finals sucks, and you have a lot of the energy taken out of you. But if you're able to like get that energy and muster anything you can to just get out to a new part of the city and see something that you've never seen before, you're very likely to stumble upon something one day that really grips your passion, and then after that a lot of different pieces can fall into place, especially for entrepreneurship.
Nice. Another concept that we do in our basic entrepreneurship class is I encourage my students to step back, introspect a little bit, and then think, who's on your gratitude list?
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of power in gratitude, and I'm curious what thought you've given that, and if how does gratitude play in, if that kind of thing?
It's huge. For me, even just from like a personal personal inside, I think it's important to believe in something greater than yourself. Doesn't matter what it is, but if you are only thanking yourself at the end of the day, it's really limiting in terms of your imagination of what's possible in something greater. And I think that's a perspective that a lot of people get stuck with. Is they start thanking themselves for a lot of the things around them that are given to people that or coming from people that have played a huge role in getting you to where you are. So for me, a lot of the people that I'm very thankful for are those few who gave me a lot of critical advice and gave me time out of their day before I had anything to talk about, just purely to learn from them. And they saw something in me when I didn't have anything yet. So, I really, really am thankful for those people who sat down with me and talked about my ideas, gave me opportunities to grow before I had the idea itself fleshed out. But being grateful is everything. I mean, I don't even know from like a cosmic perspective or karmic perspective, it does something. Like even just in people liking you, you gotta be grateful for the help that you get, because nobody, especially in entrepreneurship, makes it on their own. I'm the product of many people giving me a break and helping me out. My parents, very first and foremost, I would not be anything in anyone or anywhere without my family and my parents. So, just like thanking everyone along the way and bringing them with you is such an important part. And it's such a happy part too. And if you can be lucky enough to do that with a venture, bring people with you, you have to. I mean, it just feels to me like the best case scenario of coming up with an idea is you can include your friends and do something with it. So, yeah, gratitude is one of the driving forces behind my luck, I would say.
That's awesome. That's to me, that's like beautiful. I agree with you. there's a reason why some entrepreneurs have gotten wealthy on writing selling gratitude journals and things like that, where some people are be mindful of who you're grateful for, that kind of thing. But you naturally seem to have that, which is really great. You mentioned earlier, you talked about your life a little bit, and then also like being happy, where you're happy you're doing what you're doing versus like if you had a corporate role with TJ Maxx. You're obviously not much older than the students, for most of the students that are tuning in right now. Explain a little bit about your work-life balance. Like when do you turn it off? How do you stay healthy and happy and that kind of thing? But share some of the whatever, good or bad, but whatever you like.
I think there's like two sides to this that a lot of like people who are involved with starting their own company have with it. Like some people are like, you need to take a break, you need to stop, and you need to get clear and then get back to it more refreshed. Other people are like, oh, well, make it a part of your life, make it a part of, there is no work-life balance, and whatever your job is, like that is your life, and you should love it, right? I'm somewhere in between where I genuinely love doing this, so I could work a 14-hour day and be really happy and satisfied at the end of it. But at the same time, I do take like breathers throughout the day, and then also at night, like one of my classic things is I watch the sunset. Every time that there's a nice sunset, I got a roof, going up on the top of the roof, watching that sunset. I'm hanging out, it's a good clear on the day, and I get to see something greater than myself, right? Like I don't know, there's something about sunset that I'm like always on. It's like, it's so cool for me. Like it's like a beautiful like masterpiece every single night, and it looks different every night. So to me, like that is like all the break I need, is just being able to see that there's something greater, and feel almost dwarfed by that. I like that feeling, and then hanging out with friends. Like I like to definitely take my time with that, but I could do this forever too, so it's a good balance. But find something that makes you take a step back throughout your day, but still do something you love that you can do for 14 hours straight.
Right. No, that sounds really, really cool. I have one question that I wanted to ask you that's more directly business related, and then I had a couple advice questions before we kind of wrap that part up. When you get started in a business, there's all different pathways you can take. We all know that. There's all different choices you have with what's your business model. But you've referenced when we got in this strategic partnership that you have, and sometimes, if not a lot, a for-profit or a nonprofit can really make it to the next level, given the right strategic partnership or a few partnerships. What comments do you have about strategic partnerships, advice around that? Were you mindful of looking for them, or did it fall into your lap? But talk to that. Forming a partnership early on in the business sometimes can really get you further.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely aligning yourself from like a values perspective is really important. Nonprofits thrive on collaborations and partnerships because often you need to work with the bigger guys to make bigger impact, and they have a lot of resources to offer for nonprofits. So partnerships early on, really important, but also you want to make sure you have your branding, you have your identity solidified before you start doing any sort of collaboration, because then you're just a helper at that point, right? Like you want to have like a clear two worlds coming together. Also, I would say one important thing that's not directly a partnership or a collaboration, but it's inspiration from other companies that's really important in the formation of your branding. One thing I admire just as entrepreneurship student is the branding, the marketing of other companies, and seeing what pieces I can take from things I really like and things that really grab my attention, and see how I can incorporate them into what we have. And I found that was just a really good practice for shading years of experience off of our own experience of learning through trial and error to come to the decision that this is the right marketing piece, versus, oh, well, this company I really admire is doing this, why don't we take a page from their book and do it really early on for us? So we did out the layout of the website, with, you know, just the clean look and branding, marketing, everything like that. I took cues from what the best of the best were doing, and I put that back into our company. Even though we didn't really have, you know, much to stand on, the fact that you can make a website like that these days really means a lot. It was enough for us to get, you know, partnership with Trader Joe's even when we didn't even do what they called us and asked us to do, and we said yes when they did call us, and then we were able to partner with them. So I'd say that's, you know, a really important piece of it.
Cool. Thanks for that. One of the things that I also ask students to do when they're going through an introductory entrepreneurship class with me is I really think that empathy it's an important trait. It's an important thing to think about. And so I'm going to ask you to empathize with, you know, the students that are tuning in. They range from a few are entrepreneurship majors, and then others come from all different departments at Drexel. But I tell my entrepreneurship students, and I think you agree with this, entrepreneurship it's the way you go about life. You don't have to start a company to call yourself an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur could be a stay-at-home parent who homeschools his or her kid. That's an entrepreneurial activity, and they never incorporated to do that. You can cook. Cooking is very entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurial thinking is how you go about things. It's not starting a company. And I'm curious I wanted to get a couple areas of advice that you have, putting yourself in the shoes of some of the people watching this. Some are thinking, I want to start a company, but I'm too scared, or I'm not sure. Some are thinking, like, I have no clue if I want to do that. And some are just kind of taking it out of interest. So think about that a little bit. What kind of advice to students, knowing that you're just you know, a year or so removed from that?
I'd say for students, there's a lot of hesitation in terms of your capability to start something. I would say shoot for the stars early, because a lot more is possible than you think. And really, it's just a matter of getting out there and trying and asking people. But if you let that barrier of just starting it keep you from ever starting it, you'll never get out there and meet those people. So, like, have more belief in your idea than you do in the onset. Like, you don't need to have all of these fantastic things together to just try something. So be experimental, be a risk taker early on. College is the best time to do it because you're not supporting a family, and you have kind of like these expendable resources. You know, maybe your parents are helping you out with your housing, right? Just use this time to go wild and to do whatever you want. Look at someone you really admire and just, you know, stake your claim that you're going to do what you're going to do and just stick to it. And if you really admire someone and you admire what they do, just start doing it. And you're not going to be copying them, right? Because you're doing something that's similar to them, right? That's kind of a lot of ideas people have. They just kind of throw them in the trash because they're like, oh, you know, someone already does this. But naturally, I think when someone else does it, it becomes something different. Mm-hmm. You know, it's the Lyft and Uber scenario where it's two completely you know, different companies in the same field, but still you feel very different when you're in an Uber versus a Lyft, which is a strange thing. It's, you know, someone can be an Uber driver or a Lyft driver, but just simply the branding, the way they go about things. So, you know, shoot for the stars. Don't get disillusioned or discouraged because there are other ideas out there. And absolutely, without a doubt, like, lead with your passion. And if you're not an extroverted person, that's okay. You know, but really just find something that you cannot shut up about, and something that you can't stop talking to people about. Whatever that is, whatever you find yourself running your mouth about, go ahead and do that.
Right. The other philosophical kind of thing I wanted to ask you about and get your input on it is, I mean, to me, you're hands down clearly a social entrepreneur. And in social entrepreneurship, we call it, it's the area of the 3 Ps: people, profit, and planet. You're focusing on the people aspect, but you're still definitely, given its food sustainability and waste, you're really hitting all 3 Ps. Obviously, you got to make, you got, whether you're a nonprofit or not, you need a surplus. So you need a quote with and then you're doing the, you're definitely helping tons of people, and you're helping the planet by being, you know, like more efficient with how food gets used. So the idea of a cause is what I wanted to ask you about, and the idea of legacy. And so in my social entrepreneurship class, a final project that our students have is, what kind of legacy do you want to live now? And so we use a specific book, and we talk about the idea that you don't wait until you're old or you're going to die for your legacy. Like, there's a power to thinking about how you want to live your legacy now. In fact, the title of our book by Barbara Shaman is Live Your Legacy Now.
Yeah.
And so you've actually chosen to build a whole business around a cause that happens to be a passion of yours, which is really, really interesting. Not everybody does that. So any advice about people either looking for a cause or how they might do that? Because you don't need a business for that. And then do you have any thoughts on this idea of legacy?
Yeah, I think in terms of setting out to be a social entrepreneur, like if you find that you're what makes you tick is environmental causes or helping others, whether it be teaching, education, or even just emergency supplies. That's something you'll feel when you're doing that action. So go out there and volunteer and see what you really like. In terms of leaving a legacy, I would say a really important thing is creating something that a community can do. Creating something that other people can contribute to. Everyone loves helping other people, so if you make a vehicle for others to be able to do what they already love to do, which is help others, then that's how you can leave a lasting legacy. Instead of you being the person who's doing it, make something where it's easy for other people to do it and it's compatible with other players, so that it is sustainable and it's something that can continue on even when you're not there. That's the most important thing I'd say. If it's if you're looking for legacy, make something that makes it easier for other people to give.
Right. Nice. Thanks. The last specific question that I had before I kind of just see if you have any final things to leave with my students is like dream if you want, but you've come a long way as we talked about before in less than 2 years. What does your loose vision look like, or do you have a hardcore vision? And also, I'm curious, looking at Sharing Access going forward and looking at the school strategic partnership that you've created, are there any things that are dreamlike and big that you have in mind, or you're not there yet? But I'm just where do you see yourself in a couple years, 5 years? Your choice. But what's your vision look like these days?
Yeah, we definitely have a 5-year plan for Sharing Access, where we want to get every major college and university in Philadelphia. We want to have a chapter. So we have our student chapters already in places like St. Joe's, Drexel, UPenn, Temple, but we're trying to get into every major university in the Philadelphia area by the end of 2020. By 2021, we want to have a robust network throughout the region, about 25 to 30 universities. And then after we've proved it here, by 2023, we want to be mobile to another city that's a densely packed metropolitan area with universities that are numerous, right, like Boston and New York. Our goal is to make this work at the local level and then regionally. And then we want to bring this to another city so that we can have multiple cities doing this. But eventually, our goal is to go national with this. And we have a perfect vehicle with the universities having this system of allowing student organizations. We can create our chapters there, kind of get our foothold with students in those universities, and then build out a model that works with the city further than that, where we're doing that here, right, where our nonprofit works with the city, but then we also have these satellite chapters where we can source civic engagement and keep a really lean model. So it's something that it doesn't cost us a lot of overhead, and it can be easily spread and grown through our current channels that we have. So definitely, local, regional, national, that's our step process, and we're looking at about a 5-year timeline for that.
Nice. And that sounds like really, really exciting. And I totally, wish you all the best for that. What I just wanted to give you the option, as the catch-all, first, thanks a ton for inviting us on your very first day in this new space. I mean, I'm thrilled that you have this opportunity, and I'm doubly thrilled that you chose to let us open this up to our students at this time. So I wanted to just see if there's any other things that you care to leave them with or share. You're a creative wild guy, which I admire. So it's just anything you want to leave them with.
Yeah, I mean, just go for it. You know, there's not too much to it, and I think that's a lot of the barriers that you overthink, and you create kind of this cloud and this illusion that it's a lot harder than it is. But you'll see the pieces fall into place, but you have to let them fall into place by starting it. So I'd say, like, you know, everyone should get out there, write your notebook, draw your logos, get your website. Just start doing it and let the universe tell you whether you're a success or not. Don't tell yourself that in your head before you go. You know, I'm glad I didn't do that, and it worked out pretty well. But you know, I just like put my stake in the ground and I went with something, and then it turned into my passion, my career. So I'll leave you with that.
So again, my gratitude to Evan for sharing all this amazing stuff with us. And like we very much appreciate it. So thanks a lot.
Of
and
course,
good luck.
it's a pleasure. Thank you so much.